5, so we are going to call the meeting to order. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening to the Public Safety Meeting for Oakland Community Board 9. At this time, I'll ask the members of the committee to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Ronald Banks. I'm a community member, and I live in the neighborhood, have for a number of years.
Shania Hartley, board member.
Mark Lavana Butler, community member.
And Fred Baptiste, community board member and chair of this committee. I want to thank everyone. So at this time, we have 4 members. We still are waiting.
What about me?
You know what? Let's do introductions. Go ahead.
My name is Eric. I've been living in the community for 60 years. I'm also a resident community member, but just not of this committee, and I'm here to just peek in and see what's going on around.
And you're absolutely welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a long time community of this community. Born and raised here. Just trying to get abreast on what's going on, and that there's a lot going on here in Brooklyn in a whole, and especially in our community, as they're trying a lot of different tricks and just all kind of madness in short. Without involving us. So it's like, whoa, what's really going on? That, you want to do this, you want to do that, but you're not involving the community, which is going to be mostly affected. And that's just something terribly wrong with our representation on these boards that they supposedly have. That's supposed to be representing us. So now we've come to learn that we have nobody representing us, and that's where I've seen and come to know that that's where the change really needs to take place, is on that board, and nobody there listening to our concerns in any shape or fashion. And there's just a lot of madness, and that the people that's on that board, conflicts of interest, I mean, can go on and on, but so I am aware. I have gone to some other meetings. I am invested in my this community, that even though I may be leaving soon, I still would hope that there's some changes come about for those people who are here and those people who come.
Well, 1, I hope you're not leaving soon. 2, thank you for coming out this evening, and I want to correct this. It's your board. This is your district. You are a resident, so as a resident, this is you. And I always invite members of the community to come into these committee meetings, especially because that's where we get to have the kind of conversations we need to have. So especially if you see things that you don't like, or you want to weigh in on these things, these are absolutely opportunities. So I'm happy that you came out for this evening, and I invite you to come back to more of these meetings. And absolutely, I want you to know that if you need to speak about something, if something's in your heart, you need to get it out, please feel free to come to a meeting, or you can reach me or any member of the board directly and let us know so we can have that conversation.
Appreciate that.
Will you also be in attendance to our upcoming board meeting?
I'm trying to get more involved, so I like to get a calendar
That's
and
Tuesday the
follow up
22nd.
on some things and see where they go. Absolutely.
So let's just make sure. So Mia, as our assistant district manager, she can make sure that you're in contact with us, so you'll get everything. You'll know what everything we're doing and when we're doing it too. So
Beautiful. I appreciate that.
So look forward to seeing you again. All right. Well, you can introduce yourselves now, but you'll reintroduce yourself when you come up on the agenda. Oh, well, we'll come right back around.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my name is Ron Davis. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Allen's. We're here tonight basically because we have expanded our business to Allen's Barn Cafe. And this is
I'm Claudia.
Claudia.
This is our second go round with the liquor license.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And we have one of our members.
Slati Munchkin, I'm a board member. Hobby said she'll be here at 7:30.
Perfect. Okay. So we're noted for the record, Ms. Moshkin is here, so we have a quorum. So we'll be able to begin business right now. Okay. So we've done the welcome. We've done the roll call. Rules of order are posted on the Community Board 9 website. Just to summarize very quickly, we want this to be a place where we have conversation, respectful conversation. So understanding, listen, when you get a whole bunch of people in a room, we won't always great, but we just want to make sure that the rule of the house is, let's be respectful in that disagreement as well. And you know what? We can have conversations, and sometimes because of those conversations, we can come up to something that's even better. So that's all we're, with respect to the rules of order. Okay, so our next order of business is the approval of the February, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see the February and the March. We approved, we can disregard item number 5 because the minutes for March note that we actually approved February's minutes last month.
Yeah.
So we can skip that, please, just disregard number 4, which brings us to item number 5. So the members of the committee, did you get a copy, or a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, are there any changes to be made?
No.
Okay. All right, is there any objection to approving the minutes by common consent?
No objection.
Okay, seeing no objection, the minutes are approved by common consent. Thank you very much for that. All right, which brings us rapidly up to item number 6. So actually, just following the agenda, we have a couple of updates we're going to do with regards to FDNY and NYPD, and then we're going to address the liquor license. You have an opportunity to present, okay? Okay. All right, so firstly, for FDNY community updates. So hopefully, I hope all the committee members have a copy of the community risk assessment. So the FDNY.
Online, sure.
Everybody have a copy?
Make sure you have the one that says April 1st.
February 12th?
No, you should have the one that says April 1st.
March.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So, what we're referring to is the document, the red document. There was an email that came out from FDNY in March proclaiming a fire safety event. So, one of the things that FDNY did is they actually gathered all the data before regarding, Brooklyn community, community boards. I can't talk about it. By community boards about the different about fire safety in the district. So they gave a profile. So they said about 100,000 residents in the district, about 38,547 housing units. They also give some demographic information, and they talk. FDNY talked a little bit about what they've been doing in the community about fire prevention. So they talk about they've given 166 fire safety education presentations over the past 5 years at a variety of locations. So they've done them at schools, community facilities, outdoor events, and when we say that, I can say that they've been to our community fair the last couple of years as well. So those kinds of outreach are part of that. At the firehouse, senior healthcare facilities, pre-Ks, residential buildings as well. Additionally, I think an important stat is they've given out 281 smoke alarms in 87 households that were installed over the past 5 years through partnership with FDNY Foundation and the American Red Cross. So I think we've talked about that as a committee in terms of something we want to see if we can definitely get that as well.
An increase also.
Increase. I believe these are free.
Right. I think it's more just anyone requesting.
And that's the thing, we want to let people know that, yes, you can request free fire alarms. They will actually come and install them in your house as well. So the next opportunity we have, we want to make sure that we're able to take advantage of that in the district. And if we flip to the other side. So what is the risk of residential building fires? So we saw that there were 297 structural fires per 100,000 people. So at about 100,000, we're talking about there's about 300 fires we can expect in the district. Obviously, again, we have these conversations because we want to get those numbers down, increase it. 11.6 civilian residential fire injuries per 100,000 people. 8.3% of residential structural fires reaching all hands or greater. So whenever you hear about the 5-alarm fires, so they said there's an 8% chance of that. So we want to make sure, again, making sure. 3.2% of fires resulting in residents displaced and housed by the Red Cross. So I think when we look at the numbers, we are a little higher in terms of risk. Our number is 297 and NYC is 231. So this district is a little bit higher in terms of risk. In terms of injuries, we're a little bit higher as well for the 100,000. In terms of the percentage of residential structural fires, all hands, again, we're about a half percentage point higher than the city average. And in percentage of fires resulting in residents displaced and housed by the Red Cross, that's the one category I guess we ended up being a little bit lower. We're at 3.2%, where the city average is 4.6.
3.2% of 100,000 was about 3,000 or 3,200.
About that. Oh no, it's a percentage of the fires. So whatever
Okay.
percentage of the fires. So this is also a good stat as well. So in terms of what types of buildings we have, in terms of where the residential fires occur, the pre-war buildings by far. So we see the pre-war buildings before 1938, 88% of the residential fires.
Most of the buildings in the district are that, so that's
Right.
a little misleading.
Well, yes, but it means that we should really be paying particular attention because they're at the greatest risk. And we're talking about, especially if they're that old, they may have
The wiring.
The wiring, between the wiring, there.
Or rewiring.
or rewiring, some you have, you know, some of these homes, you have people that do it yourselves.
Just out of code, I mean, a lot of
They're
places.
out of code, exactly.
And that's
Using
just not
appliances.
apartment buildings, those are also one family, two family, and four families
Exactly.
that are also pre-war, but yeah, like
Exactly.
you said, out of code.
Right. So that's, and then residential buildings with fires, 70%, that was, 70% of those were pre-war buildings. And they have some additional information. Actually, I think this is, there's some additional information we can go through, and it's available again on the FDNY website. But I also wanted to just touch on the point that, what are the top 3 causes of accidental residential fires? 40% of them are electrical. So, and I think that's something that's not new. We've discussed this in the committee, we kind of know that.
It's a serious, the most serious problem. You gotta figure, I've been living here forever, and in any of these homes, any of these buildings, if you have not redone the wiring, you have to have redone the rewiring at this time, or it's out of code.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hazards out here.
That's right.
A lot of hazards.
And we were also talking about other things like, for example, space heaters.
Yeah,
Space heaters.
alternate methods of heating.
Exactly.
Electric scooters. Also, televisions, et cetera, so so it is using more juice in regards to the wiring, not aligned to appliances,
Wiring, for sure.
multiple appliances.
Right. Absolutely. Extension cords, things of that nature as well. So all those things they factor in.
And upgrading is expensive for
Yeah.
people who might have been in their homes a long time, who are older. It's a capital improvement.
Yeah.
And it's something that we should probably talk more about in terms of understanding. Yeah, it costs to upgrade, but then again, if your house burns down, what's that cost as well? But then we want to be flip about it. It's like, no, that's something that's real. So look, are there resources to help people do these things? Because it's a safety issue, and especially when you have connected houses or semi-detached houses or houses that are attached. One catches fire, then you're talking about potentially the whole blocks might be potentially.
Which is also the majority within this neighborhood.
And this neighborhood also is, the neighborhood's changing, there's a lot of renovations going on in the houses without permits. So there's a lot of contractors, whether they're licensed or not, coming into the neighborhoods doing this work. Who's to say that that they're qualified to do it if they don't have a license? So a lot of these, even if it's renovated or whatever, I'm just suggesting to people, if you see somebody doing work without a permit, we need to report that, because it's not just gonna affect them if something happens, it's gonna affect the people next to them. So
So true.
working without a permit is a no-no.
Also, our grid system is being overwhelmed and overloaded with new developments. So, there was a, smoke coming out of the concrete in front of my apartment building, and Con Ed had to come and see, and it was a grid issue.
Wow.
So that's also an aspect,
Yeah,
right?
that's
We're
with all the multiple
exasperating.
dwellings that are
Right.
going up, and
We're
there's no
exasperating.
upgrade with that, but they're
Correct.
just adding more and more and more.
If we talk about infrastructure,
Absolutely. And but it's interesting because you see these are the conversations that they cross over. So every time we're talking about land use and we're talking about housing and we're talking about these issues that cross over public safety, we do have a toll in that as well, because we have those concerns in terms of, if you're going to throw up 200 units on a grid that never had that before, what are we looking at in terms of realistically?
I mean, don't forget about the sewer. The sewer's doing the same thing.
Sewers,
The sewers are doing the same thing.
fire
As the
hydrants.
electric, they're being overloaded right now.
our mail and couriers.
Oh, forget it. Absolutely.
Well, that's a whole nother subject,
I was looking to
from
get
what the
Bill
media
Gates.
is saying about, them changing the, post office over, so anyway, that's another
Yeah.
issue.
But just an overextension of all of those services.
Just the last 2 points, and then we'll open up the floor if there's any other questions or comments. So, how many lives have been lost to residential fires? Fatalities occurred in the past 5 years, it says 5. So our district had 5, and I think New York City had 355. A blessedly low number, but of course we want to get them lower. So, just as something that we know that these are things that we're keeping in mind. But also it's important to note that 60% of those fires happened without a working smoke detector. So, again, it's like, the fire is bad enough, but the fact that sometimes people lose their lives because they didn't know, and they succumb to the smoke or carbon monoxide, whatever else. That's why it's important, again, we're trying to get safety, we're trying to make sure people get access to small things. If we can do small things, sometimes it saves lives. And then that last piece, just to look at it, but we're also looking at, what about lithium-ion battery fires? So, the CB9, none. We're zeros down the line, which is good, knock on wood. But we want to continue one of the conversations, and just for everybody here, we've had conversations about lithium-ion battery safety because we unfortunately see the news all the time about, some e-bike caught fire or whatever else. So we've been talking about what can we do or what people can do in terms of increasing safety around that. I know one of the things the city has done is that they've actually they've banned in terms of like some of the batteries. You can't get the batteries shipped here unless they're UL listed. We also want to make sure we're having conversations with people, because at the same time we want to be understanding where it's like a lot of people live off the e-bikes now. They run courier, they run delivery and everything like that. So we're trying to figure out what's the outreach to make sure people are safe. And what options can we give people to make sure that they have, able to charge safely or be safe.
Provide a safe storage place. Like I heard them mention about they were gonna have battery
Charging stations.
charging stations for them. Any large building I think would maybe try to invest in that and just add another $5 on somebody's rent. But basically you can get those installed.
This is great information. I'm just curious, I'm new here. What's being done to disseminate this information to the masses of the people that would really need to hear this and could benefit from it? They're not here, but perhaps in some form if we could just at least get them this kind of information and we give it more consideration and take action is what we really need to happen.
This is the kind of stuff that, and I have to double check with your office, usually we send these out as part of, we have an e-blast.
Yeah,
Oh,
Friday
okay.
night.
So every Friday, what they do is when we get these kinds of notices, we send these links out, or we send
Nice.
whatever information, so.
You need to get it on Facebook somehow because that's where
Well,
everybody's watching.
That's what we're looking at, we're
I
trying
mean,
these many
E-Blast
different
is just
ways.
like us. I get it, and he probably gets it, we get it, but like you said, everybody's not getting it. So we gotta try to target something that everybody's looking at.
And we're trying to figure out, the office, we do have a Facebook page, we have IG, we have a whole bunch of the stuff. It's an office of 3, so they do the best they can in terms of trying to put the stuff up. But then if you imagine, if we get 3 or 4 of these things per committee every week and everything like that, it becomes a lot of work for them to have to say, I'm gonna go on Facebook and post all these things. We do the best we can. Sometimes, where we can, we try and say, okay, listen, spotlight this, put this up. We definitely want to make sure we try and get this.
But touching the numbers, that Facebook would really help. I know it would be a little bit more work, but I think if you look at it, it'd be well worth it and reaching more people.
Absolutely. No, good. Thank you for that. Thank you for the suggestion. We'll definitely look into that as well. See what we can do.
Instagram or any one of those social networks.
But the one thing I also say, and if you ever when you come to our board meeting, you'll hear me say it all the time. I ask everybody to serve as an ambassador.
And we pass on the information and our
Pass on the
updates.
information. It's like I'm not plugged in everywhere you're plugged in. So it's like if you get something, especially if you see something that's going to help somebody, please feel free to take it with you and say, listen, I got this at the board. This might help. Information you might want, or if it's resources, here. So it's like, if we have that information, let's pass it along. Because we have, about 9 members on the committee, we have 50 members on the board. We only know what we know, and we only know who we do know. But if we're sharing it and getting it to other networks, we're able to spread the word with that. Thank you very
I
much.
just text 3 people.
See, look at that, it's working already, it's working already.
On Facebook?
No.
No, but thank you very much for that. Okay, but, so let me just open the floor to the committee members. Any questions or any thoughts that they wanted to share at this point?
No, I just want to call out that this is good. We had asked for this at around November. We said for it to be a pivot table. It's done. Data is well curated and the metrics are here. And I think this is also great talking points, again, to our tenant associations and block associations. And also just word of mouth, pass on information, especially high level about the lithium battery issue. Also the call outs about those who are residing in older spaces, especially our older homeowners. And just being on top of, at minimum, the smoke alarm, because we do know it is like easy $30K to do rewiring. on the low end,
That's the low.
on the
end.
low end.
We just did it. That's a
Very
very
low.
low end.
Yeah. You gotta really shop around, you have to shop.
Oh, there's no shop, because when you do it, you have to get
Yeah,
the
you
Con
have to
Ed
do it
involved.
Yeah.
And they have to put in a new system underneath in order for it to
Oh,
work.
okay, to that
Otherwise, it
extent,
cannot
yeah.
work.
And that goes to the point that was made before about
Yeah.
you don't want it to be shoddy either.
Right.
Yeah,
That defeats the
yeah, you want
purpose.
them to do it. yeah.
I got it for cheap, but 2 years, all of a sudden something came.
But then there's still a lot more after that, that's just the grid, there's another whole
Exactly.
part of it.
Fire is one of the most destructive elements, water is, flooding is of course destructive, but fire.
Oh, it is very, we went through that
Right,
too.
yeah.
We have a problem, like you said, with the sewer system. Everything is backing up. Everything is backing up.
Related point then, hold on. Let me close this one out, but then let me just go to something else that I just actually recently earlier. Any other questions with regards to?
But just thank you for this.
No, but this is something that came from FDNY, and this is the stuff we want to see. And you know what, and this would be great that if we get this from most of our agencies, where it's like
Excuse me, did any of you say that they put smoke detectors in for free?
residential, yeah.
Residential.
Residential.
Resident, yeah.
Yeah.
We have residential
You have
buildings too.
residential.
No, no,
Residential buildings too.
No, and they will, and they will.
Because they're mixed-use buildings.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we can check in with Mia.
Okay.
Because I know that they've done it, and we can check in with the local fire
The
battalion.
Troy Firehouse.
Yeah, the firehouse will give me
I gotta
information.
try and get some of them, those things you make over there. I've been going there since I was
Don't give away
50
age
years
now.
ago.
That's okay, I was there. I'm 65.
So you was there
We're in
too?
business,
Yeah,
yes.
she's doing it.
I've
We're
been
in
going there
business
for more than
60
50 years.
Yeah, well, I'm 65, so I can tell
Okay.
you, we're in business gonna be 66 years.
Exactly, I know about that.
Right. Very quick point, only because you had mentioned it. As part of the borough board, as the chair of the board, I also host the borough board meetings. So I know that there is a program that the city is trying to do is Flood NYC. So what they're doing is they're trying to install flood sensors on the streets.
I've seen one.
So if you know of different places, and it was an initial conversation. I'm gonna try and ask them to come in. I'm not sure if they're gonna come in for public safety, more likely for environmental protection. But just that, just as we're talking about the destructive elements, it's like, yeah, water as well, and we do experience flooding as well.
So that's through the DEP and,
It's actually not through DEP. I think, DEP is in partnership, but there's a couple of other entities that are involved. Like the mayor's office was in there
would I
somewhere.
actually go online to request maybe a survey to see if my corner qualifies for that? Cause I do own a corner house.
You would go to FloodNet, I don't have the site, but it's called
Alright.
FloodNet NYC. Yeah, FloodNet NYC. If you Google that, it'll bring you to the site, and you can actually put in a suggestion for places. Now, not a guarantee that we get it, but I also kind of wanted to bring them in just so they can discuss what they're doing and what the aim is. So, I mean, part of the,
Floodnet.nyc.
yes.
Okay.
Floodnet.nyc.
Do you guys take the complaints that come from here to the respective departments, say for instance, like where I live? Not to say I can't do it myself.
No, no.
Um,
Well,
That's what's preferable, I get that part.
Yeah.
But, I have a flooding problem where I live at the corner, the sewage is not good enough to handle torrential rain. Once we have these torrential rains,
yeah.
guaranteed, get on guard, get your
Yeah.
equipment out, your pumps and everything,
No.
dig trenches and, gotta try to redirect the water. You gotta do, all these tricks, but it's just due to how they, created the sewage system. They made a change that was for the worse, it seems like to me. That change that they made, we just have more and more problems.
There's a lot, climate change, clogged basins are just a huge
Over
issue.
100-year-old system.
Exactly. Clogged catch basins are a big thing. So, in terms of, in general, if you have a complaint, what we've been prescribing at the board is this. One, call 311 and log the complaint with 311. The next step we ask you to do is please let us know. Call the board office and tell them they'll give you a reference number, it's 311, complaint number 311 whatever it is. If you tell the board office can follow up. So they can say, listen, we heard from a constituent, they said there's a clog basin here, this is the reference number. They're really good at what they do, and they're able to get the kind of follow-up we need. And it's important that we do it for two reasons. One, it's hard for the board to address anything we don't know about. So we don't necessarily, once you put in 311, we don't know that the complaint exists until you let us know that there's a complaint. So that's why it's important to let us know
I know.
whenever you put
Like,
something.
I've made complaints and, but,
Okay.
I never, sent to the board, I didn't know
And
to,
that's
but
the other
going
piece.
forward, I could see the
And-
good sense that makes too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of that is, if it's one complaint, we can follow up on a complaint. If it's 15 complaints, that's a bigger issue. That's a bigger issue that we have to address, and that's a policy thing, and that's a resource thing that we can say, listen, when we talk to the city, we've had too many flood complaints about what's going on at CB9. Don't tell me you're gonna send over a crew for one, you need to send over a crew to take care of the district, or come up with a plan for the district. So that's the reason why we have the conversations we have here. Sometimes it's a one-off problem, okay, they pick up my garbage, make a phone call, they pick up the garbage. If your garbage never gets picked up, or the garbage never gets picked up in the district manager can talk directly to the supervisor, the superintendent, or borough commissioner, or whoever he needs to speak to and talk about that. So that's why it's important we have these conversations.
I'd like to speak on that too. Like I said, I have a corner house. Been living there a long time. It was always rain, just like it rains now. And as a matter of fact, I think it used to rain and snow more than it has been back in the day. Ever since the DDC, which is the Department of Design
Construction.
and Construction, came in and modified the sewers for the American Disability Act, right? What they did was they changed everybody's sewer and they closed the holes up to a point where basically nothing can go in it but water. Okay, so now, before, they used to have an opening in the curb. I don't know if anybody's old enough to know. They used to have an opening in the curb. Unfortunately, they used to say criminals used to throw guns in there, or garbage used to go in there and clog the system. But since they got rid of that, that's when my corner started flooding. Because now I have a whole block that washes down, and if they don't take care of what they're doing, it washes to my corner. If I'm not standing outside when this torrential rain comes down and I'm able to basically move the initial garbage from the thing, it will come in my driveway to my neighbor's house and so forth. So the DDC had a lot to do with the flooding going on in the city. The way they close those holes up, nothing can go in there. It's like the DEP threw it on the corner spots, like the people that own corners. It's like the DEP, they don't even come by and dredge anymore. Unless you call them, they will not come and clean those traps out.
Right.
That's right.
And they build up and build up and build up. So when you own a corner house, when you got, I live on a long block, all right? So if you got all this coming this way, with the city trees that the Department of Parks does not come and clean up.
They had a plan.
And then you got another block where people throw their garbage in the street, it all ends up on my corner.
Absolutely.
And I never had that problem because, unfortunately, the garbage used to go in,
Right.
but my corner never flooded. And then I would just have to take the initiative to say, hey, DEP, you need to come and clean it.
Mm-hmm.
And they will respond, but they're not coming unless you call them. All right? And that's what I'm going through. And I'm telling you, people have been flooding around here, and it's because they've been changing those sewer manhole covers to accommodate the ADA, which I agree with, because, it's for the blind, it's for whoever, that's what it was basically for. And I'm just saying it, but they threw it on me now, and I can't sleep if the storm comes 1 o'clock in the morning and it's coming. I gotta be standing outside to wait for that garbage to come down so I can get rid of it.
And here's the thing, and this is one of those things that.
And your property taxes are still up.
And the point is this, you pay your property taxes, so you are not supposed to be
Not at all.
the aqua guard, trying to channel water.
So now this is the solution for DEP. They brought me flood barriers that I have to fill up with water. I did use them, but then I get this high water bill now because every time a torrential rain comes through, I gotta fill these barriers up to protect my driveway and the front of my house. So that's what I'm filling up. I got a high water bill right now.
Right.
When it comes by, if I don't feel safe or I see that red in that storm coming through, I have to fill these things
But-
up
but this
with
is
water.
why we
That
have
was their
these
solution to
conversations.
fixing the soup.
And that's not a solution. And that's not a solution.
Well,
And it's
I
not.
mean, the board knows that I've been complaining, but unfortunately, the board, and I ain't gonna lie, considered my house as a hot spot, like, I mean, I know I own a corner house and I'm not like everybody else, but I'm complaining and,
It's
and,
not that you're not like
and,
everybody
and I'm
else.
quite sure it got to a point where I was gonna go around and actually stop at every corner house and say, have you had a problem with this sewer ever since you had a thing? And, you know, you'd be surprised, I got 50-50 on that. So there was a change when they changed the sewer.
It's that, and this is where, again, we need to insist. Listen, you live in the district, you pay taxes, you do everything you do, you've lived here. There is no reason why you should have to do something extra, like do all these flood barriers, when it's the city's responsibility to clean the catch basins. And if there's a problem with the drains, and it's gonna consistently cause that, then guess what, change the drains. But this is the reason why,
Open it back up the way it was, and I'll monitor the trap. If I see it get full, I'll call you, come and clean it, and let's keep it moving.
Shouldn't that be somebody's job to monitor that and manage it?
They-
I mean, I
the
don't
DEP
get
is
it.
sleeping right now.
well, but that's the reason why it's important we get these complaints, because we can ask these questions. It's like, you know what, a one-time thing, we understand a one-time thing. If it's consistent, where you're always flooding out, that's a problem they need to address.
I got pictures
And
of
especially if
me
you've
in
got a
the
whole
water.
row of houses, every corner is getting flooded out.
Are you on
That's
the
it.
lower side of like the neighborhood, like?
I'm on the lower side of Troy, so I'm coming down Troy
Down, so
Avenue.
all of it comes down
Yeah,
to
this
you,
is
that's
It's coming in also, but
Well, both ways.
Both ways.
that's three ways, because the water coming down is one issue.
Right.
But I have the people's leaves and trees,
Right.
some sweep it in the street,
Alright,
and they don't wanna do it, or the street sweeper actually goes around the leaves, cause he doesn't wanna fill his machine up on one block. I've been doing this a long time, right? And,
That is
the other way
crazy.
is the
I've even heard.
McDonald's bags and the plastic bags, and it only takes 2 bags to clog that sewer.
Right. But those are the kinds of things, and this is why it's important. Those are the things, I'm not near Troy anytime, anywhere near frequent.
Mhm.
I don't know these things unless you tell me these
Mhm.
things. And the office doesn't know these
Well,
things
like I
unless you
said,
say.
they're gonna call my house a hot spot, 'cause, I mean, everybody else is fine because their stuff come washing down, but I'm the only one that's gonna be outside like this, you know?
Yeah,
I got pictures of
but do you
water
have
of me like
pictures,
this
but
on
do you
my
have
corner.
pictures of the street cleaner leave passing by and then you still have all
Oh,
these
yeah, I have
leaves?
that, and that's another issue I'm gonna
That's a
bring up.
huge thing.
I get another, can I continue to speak on my issues?
Um,
So Frank, just in regards to that, I think that could we do as a board from next steps? Because I will say, one of the reasons why my mother made me join the board is because of a rat issue on my mother's block. And we were committed to 311. We then had sanitation on the block and the rat czar. Now, at the same time, it is a cumulative effort, like you said, right? No man is an island, and everyone needs to work together in regards to these things. And we all know that it'll be one person that's hustling and making the phone calls and doing the work, and everyone else benefits
Here I am.
afterwards. But how can we escalate this to a next step in regards to like who could the steps are 311 and those metrics?
So let's do this.
I've been
And
through it.
especially, well, especially since it's been bigger, I'll tell you what, let's do this, only because I also want to be respectful of the time. Let's talk offline, let's you, me, and Dante, the district manager, get together, and let's discuss that, and maybe we see if we can call one of the elected officials as well. Who's your council member, is it Darlene Mealy?
Yeah,
And let's get Darlene Mealy's office on there as well.
I think I even contacted her one time.
Okay, but you know, if we're all sitting at the table together, maybe we can discuss this and say, listen, more than just say, okay, wait till the next storm. Let's see what we can get done proactively. So yeah, so let's do that. So after the meeting, let's just connect, and we'll set up some time with Dante, and we'll get that together.
Can I keep going?
You have something with public safety? 'Cause
Yes, it is. That wasn't public safety, though.
No, I'm saying, your next thing is public
Right.
safety. Yeah.
All right, so as we know, public safety, fire hydrants, right? You just heard the story with the fire. If y'all didn't, there was a fire and the fire department blamed the blockage of the fire hydrant, and the minutes delayed was, caused the death of somebody. All right, we got blocking crosswalks, right? We got people especially in the community. I'm in Crown Heights. We have a large Hasidic community. They have their baby carriages, and the crosswalks are walk, and they have to end up going around these thing and tell them what turns the corner, but they're not able to walk in the crosswalk. And then we have double parking. Because of all the multiple dwellings and so forth, people can't find parking, so they end up parking in these places, and even double parking overnight, where they maybe know their neighbor's not gonna move or something like that, and they park overnight. So my proposal to the board, and I would like to even see if this was possible, is when I call 311 on these public safety issues, it takes the police department 4 to 5 hours to respond. Okay, I've attended the public's, the Build the Block meeting at my local precinct,
Okay.
and they told me they shorthanded. Please don't call 311 because we're responding to 911 calls. So my proposal is, during the daytime, why can't these calls be forwarded over to the NYPD traffic? The ones that are targeting consumers on busy streets, ticketing those people, they stop coming to the neighborhood. All right? When I call them, you can't get a response for those issues. So why can't we have it forwarded over during their hours? We don't expect them to come out at night, whatever times they work. If you put in a 311 call for a fire hydrant, a crosswalk, double parking, block, safety, then that should be forwarded over to the traffic department. And that's where they can come over and help the police department so they can continue to do their 911 calls. All right? And that would relieve everybody instead of them walking up and down Church Avenue, messing with people trying to buy something, this mom and pop's businesses, or in front of Allen's, and they come down there every day running off his customers. So, I mean,
Chasing me away.
Am I right or wrong? Let's see if we can get that forward over. That would stop, because it's just gonna get worse the way they're building these buildings. They're going up, these people don't have parking. All right, and it's an inconvenience for neighbors. You're double parked in front of my driveway, now I gotta come out, and you're double parked in front of my house. Now I gotta come out back out to the second lane to get out or drive out to the second lane to get out my driveway, and you're blocking my view. So that is a public safety issue, and those the other ones are. So I would like that proposal sent to somebody, and at least tell me who I can go forth with to try to get that done, because NYPD is targeting the wrong people. We need them. All right, we need them over there, but we need them over here too.
Unfortunately, well, let me say this. Absolutely, everything you just said, it's funny because those are all enforcement issues. As little as 5 years ago, I remember if you parked for too long or you were too close to the corner, you used to see an orange flag on your car or whatever else, really immediately. That kind of engagement or enforcement or patrolling, it stopped. So it's like, yeah, you can see cars double parked. Like you said, the point that somebody feels bold enough to double park overnight means that they are confident in the fact that the cops aren't coming around. So
Okay, so we need to end that.
we do. Now, part of the thing is the answer that you've gotten is the answer that they've been giving is that they don't have enough. That's still not sufficient. So usually we try and have NYPD come here on a monthly basis. I thought we were gonna have an officer here today. They're not here. And there's some changes happening at the 71st, but this is one of those things that we definitely will bring up as one of the priorities they need to do. Because aside from the obvious safety stuff, yeah, they need to enforce listen, and it's funny because all these things are intertwined. When they do the double parking, obviously they're inconveniencing neighbors, in terms of people that. When they don't, people are blocking the hydrants, obviously that's creating the safety thing. If people aren't moving for alternate side and nobody's ticketing them, guess what? The leaves go into the catch basins.
And my corner flood.
Yeah, so these are all interrelated things. So this is a conversation we can try and get the 71st to come in. They may be going through a little change right now because right now I understand they don't have a commanding officer right now. But we'll see if we can get the community affairs person to come in or see if we can get whoever's in charge right now.
Connor.
Connors, yeah. but I don't know if he's high enough to kind of pull, to pull
Now
me.
he's a community affairs officer.
He is. No, and we speak with Connors often enough,
Mhm.
and I'll even say it's not that your issue is something they don't know about, but we need to get them to the next stage. What
Mhm.
can you do? To your point, listen, I know on occasion they've done ticketing blitzes. If you have more information to share about, like, do you know, like, is this somebody who does this consistently? Like, every Tuesday they're out there and they don't park their car.
I put that.
Yeah, if there's patterns you notice, or there's people who consistently never move their cars on certain days, let us know, because then they can always do a ticketing blitz and say, okay, no problem, it'll be a surprise for
Yeah,
you
but
next
4 or
Tuesday.
5 hours later, 6 hours later, the
Well-
person is usually gone by then. The
Well, and that's
damage
the
is
thing.
done.
And that's the thing, unfortunately,
then
going through
just
311 is not gonna get anything. They're gonna
Well,
tell you
that's
don't
what I
call
wanna
911.
propose. I wanna have it forwarded over to the traffic during the daytime hours.
But they don't deploy that quickly, that's the problem.
They actually do. I have a direct number with them, right? They won't actually
It's very busy.
come for the other things. Yeah, they won't actually come for the other things, but when I say block driveway, which they do sometimes, they block my driveway,
Okay,
they come immediately, but I have had to go so far as having their direct number, but it's not helping when, in the middle of the night, you got the fire hydrant blocked and the crosswalk blocked and,
right.
yeah, so, I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable. Anybody here think that's unreasonable to have traffic do a little bit more work in the residential areas rather than in the business areas?
Nobody's saying it's unreasonable, it's what we're gonna get them to commit to. But
Alright.
getting them to the table is the big thing first. But that will definitely work on.
Alright, I'm done.
No, I mean, I know it's not the answer, but that's something we're working on with them, and we need to continue to enforce that issue.
Every block needs you,
Yeah.
and the advocacy. And usually, people like you who attend the meetings or are on boards and committees are in the minority, and everyone else gets to appreciate our time and advocacy that we put in. So the passion is not prevailed.
But
Fred knows of my mother's passion and her anti-rat movement, and getting a tree cut. And some of us have niche things, but it's an overall community movement.
They're threatening to no longer allow people to double park when they do alternate street sweeping. And I'm just like, that's preposterous that they would no longer allow that. Yeah, I just seen it on the news, that if you're caught double parking to allow, which they were allowing, that they're gonna start ticketing double parked cars. I mean, there's a parking problem. Where do they expect all these cars to go?
here's the thing.
I don't know if people are aware of that.
Double parking is
double
illegal, period.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. I know, but it was for a
Even to the side.
reason.
Here's the thing, it's one of those things they're deciding to enforce a law that has always been.
Right.
Because you technically not supposed to double
Right.
park. The cops have just said, listen, otherwise, where are you gonna move your cars? And there's like, how many millions of them in New York?
So how has that changed? That still exists.
It's changed because, let me say
It's
this.
a need.
This much I can say. I mean, I don't want to put words in the administration's mouth, but New York City has been moving in the direction of less cars. They want less cars, and they want to make it more difficult to
Since
have cars.
Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bloomberg has wanted to
I
integrate.
feel
So
that.
the only thing that stops that though is, guess what? If you are making the phone calls, if you're calling your elected, your council member. Because here's the thing. What's key is this: if you have your electeds who are working for you, then when they make certain phone calls to certain places and everything like that,
Yeah,
it's
so
changed.
step up, yeah.
Right. But this is why it's important, and this is why we have the conversations. There's certain things that the board can do really easy. Dante can make a phone call, he can do that. There are gonna be other conversations. It's gonna be a little bit more push. We'll probably need to get more people, which means, yeah, we'll make the phone calls to the council members and to the state senators or the elected officials, whoever we need to get, and we can get those things addressed as well. But it starts with us having that dialogue. Okay, what's going on? So yeah, to your point, I mean, absolutely, it's not acceptable to say, well, no, I don't have the manpower, we can't do that. So we figure out what our next steps are gonna be in terms of escalation, in terms of, is it a blitz where you commit to, a certain amount of enforcement? Is it a matter of, yeah, you need to get some other people in here to make a phone call, or we see what we need to do. But let's do that, and let's make that, okay, so let's add another agenda item for that call for you, me and Dante.
I got one more thing and I won't bother y'all no more. The street sweeper. He comes down the block, I don't know, and he doesn't have water in it anymore. When I grew up, and it's been for a while, they used to have water in it, and they come down the street and they sweep, no problem. Now the street sweeper comes down, and when he leaves, there's a dust cloud coming behind him, all right? I had a friend who actually rides an e-bike. He said he ended up behind a street sweeper. He had asthma. He has asthma. And he ended up in the hospital for 2 days because he ended up behind the street sweeper. I mean, I have videos of them coming down, and you'll see the fog. When me and my neighbors are talking, we see him coming, we actually have to go and pull shirts over our noses, or me, my mask, or whatever. But that is a public safety issue, because we don't know what's being spread through those that street sweeper like that. I don't know, when did that policy, we need to find out, when did the policy end for them to stop putting water in there? You know,
I
the
don't know,
water
yeah.
keeps the dust down.
I don't know if it's a policy, it might be somebody's being lazy and didn't fill up the tank.
No. Nobody, none of them do it. Can you just investigate that for me, please? Anybody ever see the dust busters going by?
I
I mean-
haven't seen it damp in years, pre-COVID.
Huh?
I haven't seen water in it pre-COVID.
All right, so downtown, I will check it out. But listen, but I'm keeping a running tab of the stuff you mentioned, so when we
Thank
talk,
you.
we'll make sure that we have the right people at the table for it.
Okay.
All right, okay, no, but thank you very much for that, for the commentary for that. So that's gonna conclude the fire, the FDNY report. We don't, we had put wrong paper, there we go. We had put, NYPD, committee check-in, we don't have a representative, or do we have a representative? No, we don't. We don't have a representative for today, but what we're gonna try and do is make sure that we're getting the data coming in as well. So we'll come back to that, but definitely some of those numbers, some of the conversations we've been having kind of bled into that as well. So we have a few things that we need to discuss with NYPD. Again, one of the conversations is they're supposed to be getting a new CO at the 71st precinct, so we're trying to make that connection to figure out what's that process gonna look like. But to your point, we wanna make sure that NYPD should be on a regular basis, and we should have that conversation. Because they need to be able to explain why these things are, why they can't.
Not being addressed faster, but we already know, they responded to 911 calls.
Here's the thing.
That's all they're gonna tell you.
There's a shortage of everything, I mean.
There's a shortage of everything, but guess what, does that mean you don't get it done?
Parking could
Yeah,
get
no,
it
it's no
done.
excuse, and that's what they gotta focus on, providing
Right.
manpower to cover what needs to be covered.
And adjust,
Or you
get some
figure out-
parking people on them 311 calls, and they can take care
But
of that.
that's essentially what it is the manpower. I mean,
But to your point, it's like, it's one of those funny things where it's like, you don't have the manpower to do that, but you're gonna enforce everybody doing alternate side.
Yeah,
So in other words, there are choices being made,
right.
and it's important for them to discuss what choices are you making? And perhaps the community should say, let's reprioritize some of that stuff.
And what problems is it gonna create? Now, you're gonna try, now you gotta enforce this, you're saying you're gonna enforce it, you know problems gonna arise from trying to enforce something that hasn't been going on.
Well, she's right. This is very
All right,
solid.
okay, all right, I apologize, so we're gonna skip item 7. We'll, I think we've kind of done a little bit of item 7, NYPD is not here, but we'll try and see if we can get them to come for next month as well. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 8, New York State Liquor
I just
Authority
wanna-
application.
I just want to note for video that the date here should be adjusted here and here, both these dates.
That date was probably because that's when the agenda was finalized, this is absolutely incorrect, you're right. So we'll make sure we correct
Just
that.
adjust that.
No, correct. Duly noted, thank you very much for that. Oh, and also, just for the record as well, so we do have Member Cohen here as well. For the attendance, just so we can
Okay.
as well. All right, so we're gonna move into item number 8. So this evening, we have an applicant here for a liquor authority application review for 1107 Nostrand Avenue Corp., located at 1107 Nostrand Avenue, cross streets between Union and Carroll. This is for the renewal of a liquor, wine, beer.
Union and Carroll, is
No,
that where
no.
you're
No,
located?
that's
It's
what
also
it's
incorrect.
Maple and
It's
Midwood.
Maple
Yeah.
and Midwood, that's also incorrect.
There, what is going on today?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, 1107 Nostrand Avenue is correct.
That's correct.
Thank you. Cross streets are Maple.
And Midwood.
Okay, thank you.
On the corner, make.
All right, and this is for a renewal.
Yeah, renewal.
Okay, renewal of a liquor, wine, beer, and cider license. Okay, all right, thank you very much. If we could just ask, just so that you're on camera, if you could just come over here, just present and just tell us about your establishment.
What do you need to know?
Give us
Tell us
a
about
little
you.
background.
A little background about the business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, on the spot. Okay. No, we opened up so as you know, Allen's Bakery, we've been around since 1961. And then we decided to expand because we realized at the time that we went for this license, there weren't any bars in the area.
Really?
It took us that long to get to that point. And all of a sudden everybody started opening up. So now we're an event space, and also because we do also an event space and bar and cafe. So we serve food as well, and we do parties, we do everything.
Is it, how large is
The bar itself is not huge. The bar itself, what would you say is approximately how big?
850 square feet
Like,
per
small.
bar.
Oh, 800 square
Yeah.
feet.
Oh,
But we have,
But
Two
the
floors.
event space is
there's
what?
2 floors on.
Oh, I see, so you, as you expanded, you went up?
Yes, we have 2 floors
Okay, so the event space is upstairs?
upstairs.
Are there any residences?
Yes, we do. We have residents. We have 4 residents.
Above?
No,
Above us,
no.
above the bakery.
No, because we own all 3 of the buildings.
3 buildings.
3 buildings. So there's no one above the event space, okay? But there's 2 other buildings that we have for our residential units
so
on.
they're adjacent.
Yes, they're adjacent,
Adjacent.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we don't have pictures here either, we don't have anything.
Yeah, I'm surprised. They didn't send the package. Okay.
Okay, that's what excuse me, that I'm asking you, usually we have some pictures of there that we can kind of get an idea of what's going on. And although I've heard of you guys and I've seen even the sign, like I'm not really sure of the whole dynamics, I'm trying to figure it.
Oh, it's not big. It's not a big spot. And then we apply for cafe outdoor as well?
Yes, but we were told that you had everything, because we
Yeah,
have
we
a
didn't have
paper
to walk
saying
with
that you don't have to
anything.
walk with anything,
Yeah,
because we have Resonated doing everything for us, and it tells you have everything.
Yes, right there.
We had it, we got it.
yeah.
Oh, you
yeah.
got
Oh,
it?
okay.
We got
Because they
it.
said
Yeah, we
didn't
got
have
it
to
in
walk
our
out.
email, we
Okay.
didn't get, but usually we get a hard copy here, that's.
Oh,
what-
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
because they told us we didn't have to walk with
There-
anything.
There are copies of the
No.
applicant documents there.
Of the pictures of everything?
They didn't have full pictures, but if
No,
you
but
would like to see it online.
the application is where? Oh, there's
Oh,
one?
Is it,
Oh.
I got one, you can see it. Yeah, 'cause
Thank you.
I'm familiar with it.
Oh,
so-
okay,
Okay.
that is sharing, good, thank you.
Yeah. Any street seating is handled through the DOT, it's not handled through your.
Mhm.
Yeah, we know that, that's a different department.
Okay, so how many times has the license been renewed?
Oh, this is the second time.
Second time, okay.
This is the second time we're
So you've only
asking.
been doing it for 2 years.
Yes, exactly.
So you say that 2 years, 2.5 years ago, there were no bars around?
Right.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, we went for our liquor license 2 years before that. It took us that long to get a liquor license. And before that, in the area, there wasn't any really. Now we have one across the street, now we have one now. Each block has a bar
Yeah, we
cafe.
know there's a lot
Yes,
going on.
mhm, a lot going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right, so listen, so I know that you're looking at a couple things, so we'll give you an opportunity to review. I'll tell you what, let's go around the table, questions from the committee. Well, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Do you have anything else you want to present?
No,
I'm
it's
just curious, are they denying you a license right now?
No, we
No,
just have to,
this
this
is
is
the
the
renewal.
process, we have to
Renewal.
renew.
This is the renewal.
Oh, and
The process.
the
This is-
board
this
has
is
to
our
approve
process.
The board has
This is
to
our
Every
process.
All right,
time.
got it, need to say no more, sorry.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Banks, do you have any questions?
No, since you had the license, have you had any incidents or anything
No,
else?
because we're actually great with the police department, so. we have
I'm
no-
familiar with it, I
They
mean, I
come
know
for
that, I
car
don't
rolls?
wanna sound
Yeah,
biased.
oh, yeah, they come for their car rolls, they come for everything.
Okay.
Yes.
We give them Thanksgiving.
Yes, they said that's the first time that anyone really in the community ever gave them
Oh,
anything.
wow.
That we're the only ones who give, I can't believe that, in the community that no one gives, the police one is there for you all the time, you couldn't believe that, but.
One hand washing.
It's really good.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I remember it being smaller, I feel like it grew.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's strong.
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Hartley, do you have any questions?
What days are karaoke?
Friday, that's the best night, that's the best night, everybody loves karaoke. Yes.
I should have told me that.
I'm like,
Everybody loves karaoke.
Sore.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Butler, do you have any questions?
My main question was if
if there were any incidents, but you already answered that.
None.
And we also get a poll on incidents when we get renewals.
We do, yes.
Yes,
So,
we
yeah,
usually
the board,
should
we,
get.
yeah, part of our process is we'll always ask NYPD and LPD, you know, if there's any been issues or complaints with them, so we pull those reports. Ms. Boschke, do you have any questions?
Just the, I didn't look the hours of operation.
Yeah, that was
all.
about right. It's a little bit,
Oh, yeah, 7:30 a.m. So what time do you actually start? So
No,
then-
7:30 a.m., that's the bakery.
That's the
Okay.
bakery.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't wanna get it confused.
Good one.
The bar itself is from 5:30 to, okay, so that's Thursday, Friday. I'm trying to remember the exact time, but it's in the evening. We open in the
That's
evening.
why
Oh, it's not open seven days?
No, it's not open, we're not open 7 days.
Wednesday starts
Mostly the,
liquor.
that latter part, weekend.
I've also never been past there and really heard anything past
Right.
12:30 unless it's
No, no.
Juve.
Right, yeah, Juve is something totally
Juve
different.
is something
And we don't even
different.
really handle that, it's the
Right, right.
outside of
Yeah,
the
just
committees
outside, yeah.
actually do that.
Like, yeah, so-
Yes. And they usually set up something with the police too, so usually
Right.
that's why there are no incidents and no any problems. Because the committees that do set up in front of us, we have a lot of different organizations that like to do things in front of the bakery and so forth. And they usually set up the whole thing with the-
I've also very
Nice.
rarely seen any noise spillage, because that's within walking distance of my apartment, a couple of other things that I go to, my masseuse, my doctor, like a bunch of other stuff, so, and even at night, I have a few friends, so I very rarely see any noise spillage, especially on a Friday or Saturday night. You hear, I'm used to the bakery, and that level of ambient noise, and I know that there's now a different level of sound, but I've never really seen anything that equates to like extreme noise components.
does the bakery have tables or it's the cafe that has the
The
tables?
cafe has the tables, not the bakery.
But it seems like it's small, five tables.
Yes, but outside, that's
Oh,
why,
that's
yeah,
it.
we, yes,
Okay, that's the,
outside
that's the,
seating and
that's,
so forth.
that's the vibe.
That's the space and vibe, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And the event space, like,
Not really, we don't really do anything, it's really mostly the bar, so when we do funerals and things like that, people want it, actually, even though it's small, people do that and just spillage outside.
yeah,
And sometimes we'll rent a tent to do everything.
but 11 p.m. sounds like a little bit early for like, do you ever do a party? Do you ever do parties?
Yeah, we do
Oh, yeah,
parties,
we
but
do parties.
very rare we go past, I would say 1 o'clock. 1, 2 o'clock maybe, but, and it's still not a noise thing, because we try to be, considerate of the neighborhood. So we close the doors, we have the doors that open up, the cafe doors, and at a certain time, we close the doors.
Okay.
You also have an older customer base.
Yes.
I'm probably one of the younger.
Oh, I see. Oh, so they're not really
Yes,
that
we do, we
out.
have an older
Which
customer.
explains,
Which
It
yes,
explains the
Yes.
last
But
name.
on the days.
What are you talking about? I go there all the time.
No, and that is a no disrespect, but again, as someone who is, I'm technically middle-aged, I'm still one of the younger ones in there, and that explains
That
why
explains.
also your hours
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
are usually, when I pass by 11:30, it's not a lie.
But you know what we realize?
We gotta
Older
go to bed
people
early.
spend the money.
yeah.
Young people,
Our
they
money
come
is
and
just
have
as
fun.
green.
Hang out.
And it doesn't
I
matter.
mean, we also make money.
Yeah, exactly.
My kids realized that a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
I think too, a lot has to do with, in terms of your customer base, is your longevity.
Yes.
Yes.
And people having grown with the organization and grown
Yeah, and a lot of
with
people, they
service.
couldn't wait,
Yeah.
they kept asking us, but like I told you, it took us for the first time around 2 years to get a liquor license, we had to wait. And I don't know if it was because of COVID, did COVID
Yeah.
come at
Yeah,
the
COVID
same
played
time?
a part
That we
in it, too.
applied, and we
Uh-huh.
had to wait for everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
That's why
also-
we were shocked when we see all these bars. It's like,
Yeah,
All
I
of a
don't know
sudden,
where
yeah.
everybody
who
opened
do
up.
they know?
You struggled and all of a sudden they pop in.
Yeah.
Who do they know?
I think also the great thing about that block, it's a really good setback,
Correct.
so there's a lot.
Oh, yes, we have a lot of.
Yeah, that
Yeah, we have
strip
the
of
space.
Nostrand
Yes.
allows you a really good setback,
Good
which also
setback.
hinders noise pollution.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Exactly.
And the historic
That's
church
right.
across the street.
What's
Yes.
your specialty in the bakery?
I'll give you a,
Hard rolls and hard
I'll give you a little joke about that church thing.
I was getting ready to say that.
You're gonna say carrot roll?
But we were
That's why
applying.
my teacher, we always wear part of uniform, we love carnivals.
That's what I,
Yes.
when I'm coming over there.
But we were applying for the license,
So
right?
it's just mini
It's,
races
yes,
in
like,
Monroe?
well, current
We
is
kept
different,
hearing
current is sweeter and a better.
The
taste.
church keeps saying,
It's a
this
richer
doesn't,
quality.
you're too close to
Tastes
them.
nice.
I mean, like,
I put that
are you
as
kidding?
my
Do you
Church.
have live music? Do you have
So I
live
went to the
music?
pastor.
Sometimes we do.
He said, you talking
Depending,
gay?
like
I
when we
got
do
my,
Mother's Day
I
or
get
something
my
like that,
communion break
we
from
get,
Alex. I'm not gonna mess with
sing
Alex.
and different things like that.
However,
Right.
there was a small
Do the
church that we
residents that
never
you
even
have
knew
on
exist. He rented a
upstairs, do they
space
ever
in a
pick-
brownstone.
say,
Yeah, a little
No,
church.
we don't have a problem with it,
Brownstone
the
on
residents we
Maple.
have, they've been there.
Midwood,
coming
corner
to-
of Midwood.
Coming
And they
from
also
Memphis, so
come
going
down
back
and
towards
come
New York
down.
Avenue.
No, going back
Enjoy.
towards,
Look on their
Between
Instagram,
Notion
people
and
have.
Rogers.
Rogers, yeah. Right in the
I
corner.
checked out the Instagram.
He's right in the
Al
corner.
Balance has been in the
Yes.
community
I've
for
passed by it a lot.
Yes, yes.
So
He
absolutely.
had given us
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
started, so I
Yeah.
went to him.
All right, so for
And
the
then-
committee, are there any
Okay.
additional questions we have for the applicant? We're good? All right.
Sometimes that's doubles.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, on the weekends.
On the
We, now, no, guess
Oh,
what, no, we
goodness.
expanded,
The
it.
sheet's
Now we're
already
doing
out there.
doubles during the week, because that's how much people love doubles.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
do gourmet doubles, we don't just do the regular original, we do shrimp, chicken, and beef.
Okay.
I just had one question. I know you had said you had no incidents in getting with your license. Is there any kind of grading system related to the license, like food or A?
Oh, most
there-
definitely,
there
yes,
is?
you did. The health
Okay, what's your
department-
rating? What?
We have an A right now.
A rating? Super
Yes.
A. Nice, nice. Congratulations, Sandy.
Thank you.
Okay.
No more questions, I'll stop at 5.
Do you have your weekend plans?
Okay, so at this time, from the committee, is there anybody who wishes to make a motion for the committee to forward this recommendation to the full board for approval?
Could I they just like change it a little bit, this thing, cause it says licensed outdoor area none, and they say they do have an outdoor area, maybe they should just adjust it a little bit so later it doesn't come to bite them.
What is that, licensed outdoor area?
Yeah, and if they say they have like in the front, sidewalk
Right,
cafe.
so what do you have in the front right now?
We got passed when we have a license,
Yeah,
we have a cafe
What
license.
happened is, okay, we have Allen's Bakery and we have liquor license on the 1107 North Strand Avenue. So we have the license on the Allen's Bakery. So when
I
we
was
go
wondering,
for-
cause there's no
Right.
Allen's Bakery written over here.
Right, so when we go for the license, because somebody had called and complained, but then they realized this is Allen's Bakery. So it's on the Allen's Bakery, not on the 1107 North Street, because we have to use a different company to get the liquor license.
Okay. Okay, that's right, all right.
So
So,
we all,
so 1107 doesn't have the,
No, 11 to 7 is the one that has the outside, no, the Allen's Bakery has the
Allen's
outside.
Bakery.
Al's
Okay.
Bakery has the, that's where the
So
confusion is,
1107
because we're
then-
three buildings
Doesn't have
all
it right now.
attached
okay,
together.
all right.
Right.
Okay, all right then, so, okay, do I have a motion to
Make a
approve?
motion.
All right, so
I
it's moved by
second.
Mr. Banks, seconded by Ms. Hartley. All right, is there any objection to approving this by common consent?
No objection.
Hearing no objection, the motion carries and the committee is going to forward this to the full board for consideration and to vote on that.
Okay.
Okay, so the board is going to be meeting, oh gosh,
April 22nd.
thank you,
You
April
have to come,
22nd.
you have to come to that, that's a really
That's-
important
Okay,
day.
April 22nd?
You
April
must come to
22nd.
that, cause that's like the stamp.
Okay.
What is it?
So, we approve it, but then they have to all approve it and the entire
22nd?
board.
Yeah.
22nd.
April
Okay.
22nd,
That's
which
just
is
like seven-
Tuesday.
No, it's
No.
good, it's gonna be at MS 61. So, you know, the school on,
Empire.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's
the
when
one
we
good
went
to
the
the
last
first time.
time, right,
Right.
that's when we
Right.
went,
Right.
yes.
Right, so
Okay.
you have to be there, cause that's the finishing thing,
Okay, got it.
And what time do they do it?
7
7
p.m.
o'clock.
7 o'clock, okay.
Okay, the board office will make sure they'll communicate, they'll confirm everything.
Okay, appreciate it.
No, not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so,
Okay,
all right, so
basically
we've
done.
completed the agenda. So at this time, are there any other items for the committee from the board, from the committee members? Any other items?
Eve, remember what you told me at the last meeting about the Franklin Avenue restaurant bar and how the attendant contacted the board but not our board?
Yeah. Yeah, it was very weird, that was very strange. I got this email that there was a noise issue or something like that.
For the restaurant that we approved back in
And then
January.
Ethan said that he went down and I was like, why didn't you just contact us? That's our committee, it's like kind of what we do. And there was no answer. Teresa, it seems like Teresa was somehow involved with the people and so she sent out the email and then Ethan said he went down And I was somehow included on the email, but none of you were.
None of the rest of us, none of the public safety, we had just voted on that.
Okay,
location.
good, we had a long day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can dance.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Thank you very much.
By the way, when do you guys meet again? Because the reason there's
I'm
no
gonna meet
food
you at the
here.
restaurant.
Because I don't wanna
I'm
burn
gonna get some
anybody.
curry rolls.
I would,
Look at my face.
So that's
The
so
pleasure-
nice
the
of you
pleasure is ours.
guys.
Thank you much so
Really.
much.
no, but I'm serious. We'll send it over.
I like to be
No, you know,
consumer, we
Are you Alan?
plus I'm not doing any carbs.
Are you
So
Alan?
I'm so grumpy.
I'm the chief financial officer.
I can
I'm
see
coming
that, I
to
can see why you've been around for so long.
Right?
Very,
I
very
appreciate,
patient.
we
You're
really
very
appreciate your
civil.
offer, but I have to
We're
say
very
that,
happy
it's
to.
probably better for us, just say, listen, it's no, the thank you is fine,
Thanks.
because
Oh, okay.
we don't wanna get into any issues.
That's one of
with
the
that.
reasons we
Yeah.
didn't do it.
Thank
Okay?
you.
But it's
All
very.
right,
All right,
take care, good luck, we'll see you.
I'm gonna get some curry rolls, all right? You be there sometime?
Well, I'm there
It's not a
only 2
shanty
days a
town.
week now, because I'm trying
You
to
would keep a
retire.
wedding
I'm
there.
trying
So
to
that's gonna be what's in house.
Okay.
I've been talking about
Come and
about
see the
15 years
restaurant.
ago.
Okay.
I'm trying to wean
Have
myself
a
off.
great space.
Alright.
It's
Yeah.
really,
I'm
really
gonna
nice.
come by, look,
All
be
right,
safe.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Alright,
Yeah.
okay, so, alright, so let's just complete this, okay, so now, with respect, I saw some of the email trail, I think there was a noise complaint, there was an issue with that.
And I didn't understand how it didn't get to us.
Right, that's the thing,
That was
right?
what's disturbing.
And I find that,
Teresa and then Ethan was involved, and Ethan went down to check it out, and I was like, what?
and so I feel like it
Weird.
was a breach of protocol and our usual standard operating procedure, 1. 2, I won't go into a long-winded, but this is maybe the second or the third time that, Teresa has amended aspects on public safety. I think that in a meeting back in December, I highlighted to her, she wanted us to vote on everything all together, and we said no, we take it piece by piece. I recommended to her to join the Public Safety Committee meeting if she would like to make those changes. I didn't say it in that way, tone and cadence, but as we, just to synopsis it. And when he brought that to my attention, it is relative that we at minimum know what's going on, because we did vote on something, our name is on record on those things. The better way that I think that should have been handled, and we appreciate Ethan looking into it, it should have been a notification of you because you're the chairperson, and then we, at minimum, it should have been forwarded and for us to be aware and to be knowledgeable of it.
Yeah, we go down and we
Excuse
see
me.
so
Thank
many
you.
different sites, we would have gone down
Yeah.
to see
And for
that,
him
that
to come
complaint.
for the noise component and not know what's on record, which we also have the demographics of that noise complaint and
Right.
many other aspects behind it. For him to not notify us, because we sit here and we come to these and we are aware of what's going on, and we also knew what the owner planned on doing. We also know the back history in
Right.
regards to specifically what is going on there, and so it's
And where the
opened us
complaints
up
are coming
and where
from.
the complaints are coming from.
Right.
And so we are a community board, and we are also on specific committees. And as we've said before, we do like to know the things that are going on, like knowing that the housing committee had gone rogue and now they're back together. But in regards to this, especially because it's relatively new, it was still on our radar, we had recently voted on it.
Right.
It would be better for them to
Right.
communicate and to let us know. And then rather for them to then take it into their own, yes, they're on the community board, congratulations. And then to take it would be less as if for me to go to land use and someone called me and say, hey, listen, I wanna get this 26th floor tower, oh, let me, it'll work out. So there is, I say that
There's a protocol.
there's a protocol,
There-
and Teresa, and.
And it was
he
disturbing
can-
also that I said, in the email, I replied and said, why weren't we notified? And it
Because
was
there could be
radio
two mindsets.
silence, like, and nobody responded, not Ethan and not Teresa, like, nobody responded, like, why weren't we notified? We know exactly what's going on there,
Mhm.
we know, this is what we do.
Or at minimum, inquire, hey, are you guys
Aware?
familiar with
Yeah.
this? And do you have a back history?
Yeah.
Can we hop on a
I-
call?
I was
Should
very
I
surprised
come?
that no one
Yes.
else got this email except me.
Right.
Okay, and let me not say, I'm getting old. I don't wanna say I didn't see parts of the email or some of the traffic that went back.
But you get so many
Then that's it, I'm not gonna try and take that as an excuse.
emails.
If I'm remembering the conversation correctly, and we can, look back into it as well. Somebody had made a complaint, I'm not sure how, I think the other board member got wind of that and basically brought it to the attention of the office. My you know, and my recollection is going in and out with this one, but it was a complaint. I think the first vice chair did look at something, or he did address something. It actually got discussed at the executive committee meeting, and I think that this, I want to say it was left off the district managers handling the complaint. Typically what we'll do is if those kinds of complaints go by, the district office will take care of that. If it becomes a larger issue, yeah, absolutely it comes back, or if it's something that's gonna affect the liquor license, it will come back before the committee. But typically if it's a complaint, office receives those and they rectify that. Now I apologize if I'm missing details, if I'm misconstruing, because I can't remember the trail or how we left off of that. But let me do that, let me double check that, and I can get back to the committee with that, what happened with that, what the process is.
How did Ethan get involved?
And I'm trying to remember why that ended up being the case. And I don't think he even got
Insertion.
involved.
Yeah, he did, he said he went down, and the music was very subdued.
Yeah, and I can't remember, and I wanna say yes, and I can't remember the reason why he was in there, or for what reason. I don't know if he went there because of they don't have a sidewalk cafe, do they?
I don't believe so, they're just a bar. I believe.
Right, if I remember,
Right.
yeah, I'm missing information, so I don't wanna misspeak, but let me do that, I can get that information, I'll make sure we get that back to
And I
the.
think
Who is
that,
this Ethan guy? Like, what's his position?
He's part of the,
he's part of our executive board.
So
executive.
he's the guy that rides around and investigates?
No, that's not it.
That's not it.
But,
That's why we're surprised how he ended up over here.
Oh.
just, and I just think that specifically with that location, and especially with the changing of the guard on ownership, that probably is going to come up quite often while they still have that tenant.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that is something that may linger with us because we're dealing with a generational gap.
Right.
And that is what I think is primarily the issue, right?
Right.
A generational gap, a rent control department, and that is some of, and sensitivity to noise. Let's just be very honest, as within certain age components, sensitivity to noise, a level of how often we are at home, right? And what times. But it would have been nice for us to know because it came up so early, we just signed off on the approval.
That's right.
They were, that person was approved in February.
Yeah, and we had a background, we
Yes,
understood a lot of
exactly.
things
We have
instead
the
of people
historical
just,
reference.
exactly, we understood it, we had information.
Right.
So that when we would come to this situation, we knew a lot of the things, instead of someone from coming in and starting from fresh and, oh, somebody complained. Who was it that complained, what was the previous history, exactly what you're saying, we had all that, we knew that, so we would have approached it completely differently, and I was like, so I was so confused about
And
the
then
whole
to not
situation.
summarize it and follow up within the email. So they went on site and didn't summarize with us what took place. Because again, we could have said, it doesn't hurt to go check it out and to go see it.
Right.
Because it could have been possible, he could have possibly.
Sorry, this is like an inter.
Yeah, I understood, yeah, carry on.
Well, I know who Ethan
It could have
is.
gone crazy, right? It was good that he did, but,
We're very proud when we
It's-
approve someone and we know why we approved and you see,
And
you
then
can see,
they
you,
turn around and
no,
mess
you're
you
sitting
up.
here and you see, we ask questions, we ask about the people that live upstairs, I asked about the hours. So we're pretty thorough before we say yes to something.
And then they turn around and embarrass you, right?
No,
Oh.
no,
Yeah.
but sometimes someone
Well,
doesn't
he's supposed
know.
to, yeah, which is.
No,
No,
I mean,
that's-
I mean,
it
now
wasn't
it
a matter
makes
of,
it look like
it
you
wasn't a
should've
matter
never
of.
Like we didn't
approved
do,
them.
exactly.
our due diligence.
Our due diligence.
Yeah, no, but if I'm remembering, and again, I don't want to misremember, I don't think it was a matter of, haha, I fooled them and they went, and they opened up some swinging bar or something like that.
No, it
There was a
wasn't.
noise complaint, and again, I apologize, I don't recall the details.
Or maybe
So
they
how does it go when there's a
contacted
noise complaint? So it comes to the office here, we don't know about it when there's a noise complaint?
Not specifically.
Not specifically.
Not
Or
specifically.
maybe they knew someone on the board, and maybe they made a call to know someone who knows someone,
And
and
that-
that person may have come, and then an email drafted. This
Yeah.
is at minimum how we think that it may have come without
Right.
us thinking that we were dealing with two habitual
Right.
mind steppers.
No, but what Fred is saying is when there's an issue, it's not necessarily gonna come to us.
Right,
Right.
I think it's the
Yeah.
timing is so crazy because we just approved
Right,
this
Right.
person in February.
It was too
They
close,
let us
yeah.
know all the logistics that they were doing to manage this. We had the historical reference specific on that this is not a large scale amount of complaints that are coming from variances.
Right.
Right.
It's a singular component.
Right.
And that's where it's a little bit more tricky.
Right.
And so I think just for us, I think this is the first time that it's happened of me being on the board, and it would have been nice to know that, hey, by the way, Public Safety Committee, I received information, I happen to be on the board, someone told me, I went and took a look, and I'm just letting you know, and I just took a look for myself. So it would have been nice for some streamlined level of
And
that.
Communication.
But let's not let the one person ruin it for everybody,
yeah.
you know, I mean,
It-
like she said, it was just a one incident, y'all been on a good record, right? So, I mean, it just could be one that just passed through the range, that's all.
and just to kind of set
No,
the.
no, the place is fine,
Mhm.
completely fine. They're doing everything they're supposed to do.
Right.
That's why we're surprised
Right,
because
and we didn't want
they
that
put
to
up
happen to them.
soundproofing, the music is low.
Right. We didn't want
It was
that to
just-
happen to them.
That's right, we didn't
the
want them to get a
business.
complaint when
Right.
the business, when they really were doing everything that
And
we
just
asked them
open
to
to
do.
And here's the thing, I just want to set the expectation for the committee in terms of, typically what happens, the way we look for complaints to get resolved. I don't expect for somebody to come and complain to the committee, and the committee's out there like, okay, let's get our investigatory stuff and let's go out and take care of that. We receive complaints, we acknowledge them, but the preference is for the office to do it, because then, again, there's a point of contact, the office takes care of that, they get the information, and they can relay it back as necessary in terms of, yeah, you heard that last
Actually,
week.
that's something Dante would have probably CC'd the committee on. Like Dante's very thorough, he is very thorough.
Well,
on
here's the
stuff
thing, it
like
depends on what the complaint is and how it's resolved. I mean, if it's something that's just easy, like, okay, no problem, I talked to the person and
that. Or
we're
I'll
good.
go around and look around and I didn't see anything.
I didn't see
Maybe that's it.
anything, or I escalated it, and more often than not, he'll report those things too. Or if it's something that's consistently, especially we need to know it from the basis of the application, those are the kinds of things you'll see pop up in terms of, okay, yeah, and on this date this happened, and on this date this happened, and you'll see that in that respect if we're reviewing things. But in terms of regular day-to-day business, in terms of resolving complaints, office does that all the time.
I'll just say this, I think that myself and Eve believe that it made us look bad because we approved this business, he passed on all the information, and then we have someone who kind of went over us to go there.
From
We
a
don't know-
different committee.
Right, we don't know what took place, maybe he just popped in and said, let's listen, but we
Yeah, we don't know
we
how,
vouched for
how did
for
one
them.
get to,
Right.
how did Teresa get to Ethan? We don't know how that happened.
Well, no, here's the only thing I'll say, the only thing, and again, I'll confirm.
We just don't
If
know.
there might be a connection between the tenant and a board member.
Right, or
So
could've
that
said, yeah.
communication
Right.
happened, and they said, you
Right.
know what,
That
I'll
could've-
bring the issue up to the board on your behalf.
Right,
Mhm.
but then come to us.
Well, here's the thing, they went to the board,
They went to the executive.
well, they went
I
to the
see.
office, and I think one of the officers is on there, so I think they just said, okay, let me just help out and see if I can do something.
Oh,
with
I
that.
see.
Why couldn't it be like a councilman or somebody else they went about with?
Because that didn't need to be done whatsoever,
Right.
and more, we are speaking how we are vouching for the business.
Right.
So that's really what
And it was never a question of that, so I
Right.
think from that
Yeah.
perspective, it was fine, the committee did everything it was supposed to do in terms of the process.
Maybe we could just amend that when something like this happens, it's nice to just send out an email to a committee, not only our
For
committee.
transparency.
Any committee that if something
Mhm.
like this happens, say, hey, we had a resident reach out to someone over here, one of us went down, this was our findings, we just wanted to let you guys know, we know you approved it, it's good.
Copying the public safety committee on is for
Yeah,
transparency.
exactly.
It may get much depending on, well, here's the thing, it depends on what it is.
How many complaints are we talking about? I'm here for 2 years, this is the first time it went back, hey.
What I'm saying is, like, for example, if it was a matter of, okay, there's noise complaints and things of that nature, you might have a mailbox full of noise complaints and things of that nature. The office is pretty good in terms of they resolve it. If it's something that escalates where it's like, oh no, this is a major threat to the community, or we need to resolve this, or there needs to be a policy, or we need to make a decision, absolutely they're gonna kick that back to the committee in terms of this is an agenda item for you guys to think of and chew on that. But otherwise, they handle that business. That's what the district office does. If we think about the board from this level, policy stuff, that's the board and the committee. Operations and complaint resolution and all that stuff, that's the district office. So for the most part, they handle that and they take care of that. And if there's an escalation necessary, then they'll let the board know because we need to know those things, or there may be actions we need to authorize for that.
I don't think this is going to be the last of this scenario specifically, especially at that location, and I think that's also
agree.
why
Well,
it changed hands.
well,
because-
and
I
let me
agree.
check, and
I
let
agree.
me
I
do this.
agree.
Because there is information, like I said, I don't, there's gaps in what I'm recollecting, so I don't wanna give you the wrong information, so let me confirm what happened, what was done and what the resolution is with that. And we probably just wanna make sure that we're clear in terms of what the process should be with that.
And just to highlight, because of that one specific complaint and our board knowing, if they were to come up for renewal in 2 years, that may look like a red flag if we're not on that board.
Right.
And we don't have that historical reference.
Right.
So again, I think it's more of, we want businesses to do well here. We also want to look like we know what we're talking about and when we sign off on something. And also transparency across the board. So that's all I'm asking, that's all I think we're asking for, right? Because if it comes up in 2 years and then they see these, oh, well, we've seen all these complaints, but we also know it's from one damn person.
Right.
And that's the information
You
that,
know?
and that's the information that ends up being part of the package.
311 16 times.
Right.
Because she got a lot of time.
If my name, exactly, my name was on all the complaints, yeah.
Exactly.
You guys can look at the application and say, all right, we see what this is.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, I think that's the part that happened with the district office in terms of that was addressed. But I'll get you the information so you have that. And we'll clear if there's any questions. All right, okay, are there any other items for the committee at this time?
This was a very successful and very community committee meeting.
This is what it should be about, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, I do want to thank you for coming again.
Yeah, thank
Afterwards,
you.
let's talk, so let's make sure we get together, let's talk with Dante and see what we need to bring to the table to discuss the issues that you're having.
You know, to be honest with you, Dr. Ingham, I think they have all my information, because this is not the first time, I usually, bring those complaints that I said to the, environmental, I'm a community member of that one.
Okay.
To the environmental protection thing, which I'll be attending tomorrow, so
Okay.
that's why I haven't came in, but it's also EP and it's also a safety issue.
They cross over, yeah, we have committees, they cross over all the time, so I'm glad you came and you let us know about that as well. It's always important because, again, we don't know what we don't know. And, you know, we're moving from a place where I think a criticism that we had for this committee, that I've had and I've heard before, is that all we ever did was liquor licenses. Public safety is much more than that. So, I mean, you know, if we're talking about flood dangers, yeah, that's public safety, we should be addressing those.
Block crosswalks, fire hydrants.
Crosswalks, fire hydrants,
Double
flooding,
park cars.
double park, you know, enforcement, those are things that we should know about. So thank you very much for coming.
Who contacts and deals with like the public safety? Like, well, I live right by Kingstown in Troy and Winthrop, a corner house, coincidentally around the corners. But on the very corner of Winthrop and Albany, there's a shelter. I don't know if you guys are
The
familiar.
shelter's been here 40+ years.
Yeah, forever. It's been there forever. Now, you know, there's a lot of people in there, you know, struggling and, you know, living in the shelter and trying to make it. There's a lady in a wheelchair. She's on the corner
And the bus stop.
in the middle of the
In the
street.
middle of the street.
Every day hustling. She's there like she got a job. Clockwork. In the morning she hustles, I guess, to get her drug money. That's what I suspect, because she really, you know, looks remnants of, you know, she's drugged out. I just don't understand that, you know, that she, you know, right place where she lives. There's help people, cars that go around that's obviously they see her. And it's just not addressed. That just
Save her life.
that just
you know,
blows my mind. I
he's trying
mean,
to save her life.
she be dodging cars in this
He's trying to
wheelchair,
save her life.
and people handing her, you know, it's sad though, really, handing her dollars. But I mean, she's got a business going on there, and like I said, she's there and she's using the money. Obviously, I would bet my life for drugs. I mean, you look at it, this woman is so deteriorated. It's really sad. I just can't understand how they allow that and see her, and you're in a
Social
public safety
workers
car.
right in the building.
Yeah, in the building too. That just blows my
The
mind.
challenge becomes, I mean, I'm not sure what the arrangement is and what facility she's in. It could be that.
There's a shelter right there on
Right,
the
so when
The
she,
homeless.
yeah, so when she's out in the morning, whenever she leaves there,
She's not in their
Right,
hands
when
anymore.
they,
Yeah.
when they tell them.
But they don't have any leverage to like say, hey, you're living here and you're
So the
creating-
police have leverage. She's not supposed to be in
Yeah,
the
the
middle
street,
of the
really.
intersection.
she's not, and these become the kind of conversations where it's like, okay,
Yeah, it's sad,
do we want police intervention? Because I'm not sure if that becomes a solution either.
Because they take her away somewhere and no telling what might
And
happen.
you don't know what happens, so I mean, it's a hard conversation, and you know, I don't know.
But then, how would you feel if you come out and she's laying in the street under a bus or something?
Yeah,
with
no,
a
I'm just
wheelchair,
saying.
you
I
know?
just say that to say I I don't have an answer in terms of how, not that we can't bring.
Well, you're trying to save her life, that's
Actually,
all.
No,
I
and
can't
this
say we're life, but I'm just wondering why they're not addressing it, these safety issue people that are
and that's
moving
the thing.
around. and
This
they
is one of those
see it.
scenarios where
That's
it
my
comes in
biggest thing.
because
Why wouldn't you address that? I mean,
Yeah,
what are you
what,
doing?
what are they supposed to be doing over exactly? I'm not
The problem
sure.
becomes-
What's their job?
That's entails in their job and their duties and responsibility. I'm sure it's gotta be
Right.
related to some capacity, like, you know, you see a person creating a dangerous situation.
Your situation is
here's the
It's
thing.
tough, I get it, it's a tough
And what
predicament.
happened to that person that actually hits that person?
That's,
Their life is ruined, especially if,
That's
God
right.
forbid, they
That's
kill
right.
that person.
Understood.
Their life is ruined, you
You know, I
understand?
would suggest that there has to be some kind of meeting between the service providers and the enforcement people and the political apparatus to decide what is the best course of action.
And not just for that, but for the
person's
overall
physical and
aspect
Yeah.
mental health.
You know,
What's
and
going
just as
on
we're saying
within
that,
that-
so we
within
can,
that area.
we can do this, so we can do this. Because actually, there's been a lot of stuff around that neck of the woods too. We can talk with Dante, let me talk with Dante and see if we can have a conversation with the shelter itself. You know, it may be a known issue, or maybe they don't know, and we can talk about it. So what do you?
Hard not to know.
They know, no, they know.
It's out there
Let
every
me
day.
clarify that. They're well aware. They know.
All right.
They walk in and out of this facility, administrators and people, they
But
can't.
at least,
not
but
miss.
here's the thing. At least we can ask them. Okay, well, listen. So what's the next step, or what can be done? Because to your
Yeah.
point, you don't want to just leave her
Yeah.
on her own. You
Yeah,
want to
bring
leave
it
it
up to
there.
them, if something happens and it
We're
falls
shining
on
a-
them.
and now we're shining a light on the
Well,
facility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
I think they should, they also bear some responsibility. I think they should.
That's it.
But that's the thing. The city's gonna be like, when they walk.
I'm
out
talking
the
about the shelter because there are rules and
But he's got a
regulations.
point
No,
too.
same
Once
thing.
they
No,
walk
but
out
it's
the
like
door,
when
they
they
don't
walk out the
belong
door-
to us.
because there's a whole conversation that happens about, well, listen, you know, because we've had a number of
With
people
the
who've
loitering.
been homeless. We've had people who've been homeless. You know, there are interventions. You see people come in and they see you on the street. Do you want to go to a shelter? Nope, I'm good.
Right.
End the conversation.
Yeah, that's it. I get that. I
So-
get that.
And since Willowbrook, you can't force them.
No, you can't.
Exactly.
Absolutely
You can't
not.
force them.
Yeah.
I mean, the city's doing some other stuff in terms of that conversation, but that's something in level.
But this is the situation, they have 5250s, dangerous to yourself, dangerous to other, and she definitely falls under a danger to herself, and she's in there. So far as legalities, there
That's
will
a
be
doctor
no,
has to make that
there'll be no
determination.
question
Yeah.
to say that this woman has bad judgment, and she's a danger to herself, not only to herself, she's a danger to others, that she's in that
Because
middle
if
of
you
the
swerve
street.
around her, you may put someone else in jeopardy.
Right,
Swerving
right.
around her. I've seen her.
Right,
I've
that's
seen
the,
it.
yeah, exactly, she's causing all kind of potential hazards.
But let me do that. So let me check in with Dante, and we should probably have a conversation with that facility to see what's going on. Let them know. It's like, listen, what's going on, and what can be done, or what has been done.
Right, right.
So-
And I'd be interested in what has been done, because they're well aware, they do know. And I suspect they addressed it to some capacity, but I just wonder, what those, how did they try to address it,
Yeah.
And I know their hands are probably tied to some degree, which all our hands are, like you said, the police could come in, and if you don't wanna go, they're gladly not to let you go, because everything is overcrowded anyway, so they're not really addressing that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think maybe the facility and DHS.
Yeah. So I'll talk to Dante. We'll see if we can get that meeting together with that, and I'll talk to Fran, our Health and Social Services chair. She may have some information about that. Actually, I should ask her. So I'll ask her as well.
Great.
We have a Health and Social Services.
I'm quite sure she'd be glad to know somebody cares about her, you know?
Or she may not. It's like,
I'm just-
but
She might be mad at me, like, you killed my hustle, what are you doing?
But and I'm just being, facetious. But we'll ask the question. We'll find out. All right, then. So with that, we have completed our agenda. We stand adjourned. Everyone, thank you very much. Board meeting is going to be on the 22nd, as we said before. And I owe the committee some work as well. I just wasn't able to get it done in terms of the Wi-Fi, but that's coming up soon.
It's great meeting everyone, you guys, commend the job you're doing, keep it up, we need you, without you,
And we
there's,
need you
there's,
guys.
I'm gonna try to be a little bit more.
Stand adjourned 8